The draft UGC Regulations 2025 have become the latest flashpoint between the opposition-ruled states and the central government. The proposal to give chancellors greater powers in appointment of vice-chancellors in state universities seems to be the biggest sticking point that non-BJP states have. It's an attack on federalism, they say. Now, the Karnataka government is mobilizing opinion against this proposal by forging a multi-state alliance of opposition-ruled states. The Siddaramaiah government is planning to organize a national conclave of all higher education ministers in Bengaluru on the 5th of February. So here's what their contention is. Karnataka could be possibly taking the lead to organize this conclave, but other South Indian states have already made their objections public. These non-BJP ruled states have alleged that allowing chancellors, who are mostly governors appointed by the centre, to appoint vice-chancellors as well as other faculty is problematic because it gives unbridled powers to a central government appointee. The draft is being criticized for sidelining state authorities by completely excluding them from the appointment process. The 42nd Constitutional Amendment moved by educational institutions, including for higher education, into the concurrent list, giving states the responsibility of establishing as well as supervising universities. Now, this change by the University Grants Commission challenges the very autonomy of states as well as strikes at the heart of India's federal structure. That is the contention by opposition-ruled state governments. Many states also claim that these new norms bar the state from ensuring quality education to its constituents, to its citizens. Another objection that these provisions would commercialize higher education by appointing individuals from the private sector without consulting academic experts or without having any form of academic experience. So, Tamil Nadu was the first state to push back against the new UGC guidelines. The DMK-ruled government has passed a resolution urging the centre to withdraw these draft regulations. A similar resolution was passed in the Kerala Assembly as well. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan emphasized that universities across the country operate in line with the laws passed by their respective state legislatures, and any move to impose central regulations without proper consultation would undermine the federal structure. Karnataka is, of course, holding this conclave in 2 weeks' time. West Bengal, too, has formed an expert panel to review these draft UGC regulations, which they say is anti-constitutional and anti-federal.
As a higher education minister from Karnataka, I've already sent in our reservations with regard to this, and we have sent to the Union Minister for Education, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, and a copy to the UGC has been already sent. But this is, we want a collective probably deliberations to happen, and so that solidarity should be expressed, saying that, okay, this many states are really not accepting this. But ultimately, it's the state's right which is going to be snatched. So this is a very serious issue. So we want to deliberate with regard to this and come out with a resolution saying that this is not acceptable.
All right, so a big political face-off in Karnataka and some of the other opposition-ruled states on the new draft UGC guidelines. Karnataka is considering hosting a summit of all these like-minded states. Joining us now is Mr. Anand Gurumurthy of the Karnataka BJP and Chainika Unyal of the Karnataka Congress. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on Brass Tacks. Mr. Gurumurthy, let me start with you first. So the basic objection by some of these opposing states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, West Bengal, etc., is that A, governors get complete appointment authority. The state has been completely excluded from the appointment process of vice-chancellors. It challenges both the institutional autonomy as well as federalism, and that the state's role in providing quality higher education has been undermined if the state does not get a chance to appoint vice-chancellors. How do you respond to this?
See, first of all, without taking any suggestions, the central government doesn't move anything. According to the rules, we have to take suggestions, and we do according to the rules. All this is being done with an agenda in mind. If you see in Karnataka, just a few days ago, a new controversy started. In the textbook, they rejected NEP and they started telling we'll have our own education policy, something like that, in our state, in Karnataka here. And they introduced lines which was, even trying to put in students' minds that Bharat Mata is communal. saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai is communal, something like that they are trying to introduce. So all these kinds of agendas they want to push in, and so for that they are appointing people who are having kind of ideologies which are against the country's ethos. So these are the things which we are opposing. When they send such names, the center rejects it and appoints somebody else. Now these people are doing something wrong, and then they are trying to blame the NEP setup, which is good for the country. Instead, they should start working on improving the kind of names that they are giving for the VCs. These VCs should be credible. They should not have any kind of lokayukta accusations against them, or any kind of criminal accusations against them. If they come up with such names, who's going to stop them from appointing
No,
VCs?
their
Nobody's
contention
stopping them.
is that land is given by the state, resources are given by the state, grants are given by the state, everything is provided by the state, but the state does not get any say in appointing the vice chancellor.
So they can appoint a criminal to as a VC, or somebody, some party man who is favorable to them but has no use in education. Can they appoint them? That is why NEP guidelines are there. Just follow the guidelines, and a man will get appointed.
Okay.
That person, the human being, whomever they suggest, if it is according to the guidelines, he doesn't have criminal records. He is not accused by
Chainika
nobody.
Unyal, this is entirely being politicized by the opposition parties. None of the BJP ruled states have raised an objection. It is only southern states, and that too opposition ruled southern states, that are trying to create an issue. Ultimately, it's a question of providing quality education. Whoever can provide quality education, that person needs to be put forth, and that person needs to be encouraged. Why are you politicizing education? That's the question that's being asked by the BJP. You have to unmute, ma'am. You're on mute. You have to unmute, please.
Sorry. This is not the matter of politicizing an issue. Basically, you see, India is not a centralized state. It's a federal state by nature. First thing. So whatever and it's not a one-party rule state also. It's a multi-party rule state. So every voice should be heard, and every voice should have the weightage in this democratic status. The UGC draft regulation which has come, and the states have raised concern. So my point is that this UGC draft regulation has a serious constitutional issues also. The problem basic is that there is a act in which the UGC draft was made under that act that was passed in 1956. And that act basically gives no rights to UGC to create certain kind of guideline for the VC appointments. So the problem arises when the UGC began to regulate an area which is not a part of the Pattern Act of 1956. So they are not following even the act of the UGC, and they are talking us that we are politicizing this.
No,
this
but
matter.
ma'am, an act passed in parliament is not cast in stone. It can always be amended. So if they bring an amendment to change the UGC Act to amend,
it's not amendment yet, yeah, na?
No,
It's
question
not
is-
amended. It's not amended yet. It's there only. Okay, so you can't say it could be amended in future. We are doing something earlier.
Okay.
It can't be.
Okay, so that's
You
one
can't,
part of it. But
uh,
answer the question about the charge that's being thrown at the opposition is only opposition ruled states, and that to select opposition ruled states like Karnataka are raising an objection for the sake of raising an objection.
Because we have the different point of view.
No,
we
no,
are
we
the
are-
oppositions.
Wait,
Okay, we are the
There's-
opposition. We have different point of view, and we are putting our view. You can't ignore the act of the UGC also, and you can't ignore the federal status of the Indian.
Okay, Mr.
Country.
Gurumurthy, you
can't
keep talking
ignore that.
about federalism, cooperative federalism. You're undermining federalism by giving states
No,
no
nothing
authority
like
or say in deciding
Nothing
who will
like
be vice chancellors for state universities.
Nothing like that. If they come up with names, every time the states are asked for suggestions, if they come up with names, okay, who are credible, who can be useful for the education, it is more than enough for us. But every time they either suggest criminals or people against whom Lokayukta cases are running, or some kind of ideology they bring in, which that person is totally against Bharat Mata and such other things. What is the point? Are we going to be in this land and say Bharat Mata is wrong? What is the point in pushing such names? They are doing some kind of injustice to this country by doing this, and then they say we are politicizing, or we are going against the norms that have been set in. We are not against any norms. We are just trying to tell that let us have good people who can, promote education, and that is the only need that we are
What
pushing through in
what
India
is your
across the country.
justification? Earlier, the criteria used to be to appoint a vice chancellor, you have to have at least 10 years of professorship. You have taken away that criteria. What is the justification for that?
See, one thing is professorship may not be, criteria for administrative this thing experience. So if somebody has administrative experience, and also there are certain other qualities that we have to see. One of the things is major things that was happening was criminal cases against people. That was something, which we, government is looking into. In fact, that person should not have any kind of a criminal case. Of course, there are some cases which even they are put for some lousy reasons. So that such things are disregarded. But some kind of, public office he had, and he has a criminal case because of that work done there. These kinds of things are, totally not acceptable.
Okay.
And then there are the Lokayukta cases. There are many complaints against many VCs on from in the Lokayukta which are pending, and these people again appoint such people. So these are the kind
So,
of
Ms.
things which we are
Unyal,
looking at.
final word. Point is, if there are lateral entries in civil services, if you can today have lateral entry in administrative services, in other civil services, then why can't there be lateral entry in academics? Where is it cast in stone that to run a university
Because-
you need to have X number of papers published, or that you need to have a PhD?
Because you are running a university. You are not running any kind of profit-funded company. You are running a university basically. University which basically gives a new ideas, which gives a new administrators, which gives you many kind of another fields the people who lead in another fields. So university basically, you see, is a backbone of the country. It's a mind of a country. If you are defunking a mind, then you are defunking a country also.
No, but the point that
see,
Mr. Gurumurthy
it's
is
not
making
matter of
is
UGC, even
that you don't have to
entry
be,
is allowed in the
ma'am,
professorship also.
that you don't have to be a great professor to be actually a great administrator of a university. Ultimately, a vice chancellor
But you need to be a
administers
great professor to run a university, because then you understand the importance of the university, then you understand the needs of the student, then you understand the need of the university teachers. How can you understand the people? You never been a part of a system.
Okay. All right.
Not
We'll leave it at
never.
that. Thank you
And
very
even
much
it's
to
not
Mr.
matter of the
Gurumurthy
UGC,
and to Ms.
matter of
Unyal
teaching.
for joining us and putting their points of view forth when it comes to this issue of UGC draft guidelines. As of now, I can count 5 states, opposition rule states, that are asking for these draft guidelines to be scrapped forthwith. The BJP is saying that this is simply being politicized.